kind of an intimate crowd, so feel free to scooch up if you'd like. Plenty of empty seats up front. If I could ask Eric and Ray J and Claire to join me up here.
I'm going to go to the second one. Center mass. That's true. I'm going to give you my card. Great.
So I'll get started in view of the time. This is a panel hosted by or organized by the Association of Space Explorers, and I'd like to recognize John David Bartow, who put this whole thing together. Thanks, JD. So the ASC is a professional educational society of over 400 people from 38 countries, and the only requirement is you have to have orbited the Earth in a spacecraft. So that's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about suborbital spaceflight and why people want to go. The way we'll do this is we'll have sort of two half sessions. The first panel will be moderated by Eric Stallmer, whom I'll introduce in a second. And then I'll moderate the second panel, who will have some interesting people as well. So let me introduce Eric. Eric Stallmer is the president of the Commercial Spaceflight Federation, which is the largest trade organization dedicated to promoting the development of commercial spaceflight, pursuing higher levels of safety, and sharing best practices and expertise throughout the industry. You'd think I'd have that memorized by now. He's got a lot of other hats he's wearing. He is a member of the User Advisory Group of the National Space Council. He's chairing one FAA Aviation Rule-Making Committee, and he's on two others. He's a member of the Commercial Space Transportation Advisory Committee to the FAA. He's testified several times before House and Senate, I think twice in a week this year, or maybe 3 times in 2 weeks. He's pointing out it was not criminal proceedings. Anyway, please let me, or help me welcome Eric Stallmer.
Thank you so much, Mike. I always owe Mike a great gratitude, get that all out, for turning me over to one of the best jobs that anyone could ever have. Running CSF has really been just a fantastic experience for me, a wonderful experience because I'm exposed to the tremendous diversification of our industry, from the ground, from the spaceports, to the people building the spaceports, to the launch vehicles, to the satellites, to the people doing work, all the way to the International Space Station and beyond. And what's really getting me excited is what my two friends are going to be talking about today, Ray J and Claire, about the suborbital spaceflight, because that is really what really attracted me to the organization, as we're right on this cusp. And as I'm looking out at our dear friend Buzz Aldrin, who 50 years ago walked on the moon, I often say that I think in the next year will probably be one of the most exciting years since 1969, as we have 4 human-rated vehicles going into space with Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic, and the Suborbital, and SpaceX, and Boeing going up with the Commercial Crew. So it's a really exciting time in our industry. Unfortunately for me, I don't build anything, I don't sell anything, and I don't fly anything. So that's the one setback. And what I do have the privilege of doing is really promoting and protecting our industry and trying to advance it the best way possible. And here in Washington, some people call them challenges. I like to think of them as opportunities, and we certainly, as our technology and our innovation keeps pushing forward, so do the rules and regulations. And that's something we have taken a very, very active role in, especially given the work on the National Space Council and the direction that the White House has given us on streamlining rules and regulations. And it's really a privilege for me to be able to work with organizations like the FAA as we really kind of customize and tailor the launch regulations for this new generation of launch vehicles. Because 25 years ago when these rules were written, they weren't thinking of Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic and some of the others and the re-entry vehicles and everything like that. So it's a very exciting time, and I'm thrilled to be here, but more importantly, I'm thrilled to share the stage with Ray J and Claire. So without further ado, I want to get to the people who you really want to hear. And first, I'm gonna start with you, Ray J, but I'll briefly some introductions. I'll skip over the part that you went to school, you're educated, you've done a few things in your past. So I'll tell you kind of what Ray J's doing right now. Gregory Johnson, but for all intents and purposes, for the rest of the day, he'll be just Ray J. He serves as the Vice President at New Shepard program at Blue Origin, a private space company developing vehicles and technologies that dramatically improve access to space for people and payloads. As the Senior Vice President at New Shepard, Ray J leverages the comprehensive experience in spaceflight and aircraft operations to produce a fleet of suborbital space vehicles, create a detailed logistic and maintenance capability that sustains high-tempo operations, and design and implement a New Shepard astronaut experience that will really be life-changing for people. Ray J will ensure the development of these capabilities that they stand on the foundation of the mission assurance. And I think Blue Origin couldn't have found a better person to do this with your vast history from your career in the Navy as a pilot, a short stint with NASA where I think you were able to fly the shuttle a couple times, and I think your most recent mission was the last Hubble mission, right. and then your experience at NASA headquarters. So, Ray J, I'm really excited to hear what Blue Origin is doing and how you're gonna get people up there soon.
Well, thanks, Eric in LA. Thanks for the opportunity to speak about New Shepard. As Eric said, I am the head of the New Shepard program for Blue Origin. My background has been literally all space, all aviation, all the time. I started flying seaplanes in Seattle, which I really enjoyed as a kid, and then I moved on to carrier pilot, test pilot, NASA research pilot, NASA pilot, and finally I flew on the last mission to the Hubble Space Telescope, STS-125. It's rare that you get a chance to work on a human-rated vehicle, and when this opportunity presented itself, I jumped on it. Blue's vision is a future of millions of people living and working in space to benefit the Earth. My job is to ensure that we have the safest rocket and we deliver a life-changing experience to each of our astronauts. Everybody at Blue is inspired by this vision, and frankly, it's a pretty big vision. We are building the infrastructure and lowering the cost of space on each of our programs, whether they be engines or our rockets. Okay, I'm going to start with a quick video, and you'll see some of our landings. So it's a montage of both our landings, our escapes, and finally our landings of the capsule. So here we go. You can see our West Texas launch site. New Shepard's a fully reusable vertical takeoff and landing rocket. It's named after Alan Shepard, and our experience is similar to Alan Shepard's 1961 historic flight. Currently, we're in the West Texas launch site right now, and you can see our booster landing on our landing pad. To date, we've had 11 launches, 10 booster landings, and 3 escape tests. Here's a pad escape, followed by transonic max Q escape, and then followed by a post-MECO high-altitude escape. So we have a full envelope escape system. 2 of our boosters have flown 5 times each, so it's very reusable. And you'll see when the capsule touches down, a terminal deceleration system kind of churns up the Texas landscape. New Shepard is entirely automated and monitored by a small control team in Texas and Kent. And it's interesting to note that it takes about 12 hours from rollout to launch to roll back in the barn for New Shepard. Pretty quick turnaround. Here's what we hope to impart to each of our astronauts. It's a picture of our capsule above the Kármán line, which is 100 kilometers. Astronaut experience is designed to be amazing and life-changing, and I can tell you on the Hubble mission, along with fixing the telescope, I got a chance to look outside and float, and it changed completely the way I viewed our Earth. And this is what we're trying to give to each of our astronauts. My wife, Nanette, was always an avid recycler, and after my flight, I can tell you that I was too. New Shepard was designed from the very beginning to go above the Kármán line. And we started out by writing a document called The Day in the Life of New Shepard. And what we started very long time ago writing down how often we thought we would want to launch, what the turnaround time is, and how big the ops and the maintenance teams were of the rocket. And I'm pleased to tell you that I'm very close to the goals that we wrote down so many years ago. Right now, New Shepard is an 11-minute flight with 3 minutes of weightlessness. And it's designed to give the overview effect. We want each astronaut to see the curvature of the Earth, the blackness of space, and hopefully that will alter the way they view the Earth. We'll talk about our capsule here. Designed for safety and comfort, it's capable of carrying 6 astronauts. It's 10 times the space of Alan Shepard's Mercury 7 capsule. A third of the capsule completely is windows, the largest ever flown to space. And every seat can see the curvature of the Earth strapped in. No pilots, every seat is filled by an astronaut, and we've demonstrated full envelope escape. The capsule sits above, pressurized capsule sits above the booster, and the astronauts feel about 3.5 Gs on ascent and a momentary 5 Gs on re-entry. And all those forces are through the chest. Launch takes about 2.5 minutes, separation at 250,000 feet, and typical apogee is 350,000 feet. The astronauts are cued to get out of their seat, experience weightlessness, get back on their seats, and then they land in the West Texas desert at about 3 miles an hour. Okay, imagine yourself if you were launching. I'm going to show Mannequin Skywalker here, who's launched 5 times into space. And LA, I think he's got you beat by 1, so. We wanted to do this New Shepard program, and when we did it, we thought about safety, reliability, and escape systems. Our 3 escapes has proven out our full envelope escape system. And we built into the rocket simplicity and redundancy. The escape, the parachute deployment, and the separation are all redundant. We're going to launch Mannequin Skywalker here, and so I want you to just imagine yourself being there, and he'll go into space, and you'll be able to see what he has seen. We couldn't get him to get out of the seat, but he did a pretty good job anyway. You can hear the engine light, and once it's up to full power, there's liftoff. Again, all these Gs are through the chest, so it's not draining blood from your head. You can see the West Texas landscape in the background, and before you know it, you're seeing the thin blue line of space and the blackness of space. You can hear kind of some RCS jets keeping the capsule upright. And so this is intended to be a great experience. Each astronaut has their own display, and they can see their altitude, their airspeed, and the G-forces they pulled. Here's a picture after one of our successful payload flights. And in the middle is our CEO and our founder. And surrounded by them are our payload customers and our New Shepard team. I am in that picture somewhere. The most recent flight was in May of this year, where we flew 38 payloads from schools, universities, and governments, private companies to space and back. And we're looking again to launch one more time this year. This is my favorite picture of New Shepard on the launch pad. New Shepard is powered by our BE-3 engine, and we chose liquid hydrogen and oxygen, not because it was easy, but because it was hard. Hard to paraphrase John F. Kennedy. We knew we were going to need that combination, that impulse that we needed for some of our other rockets, and so we chose that on New Shepard. And we also chose it because it's environmentally friendly. We have over 70,000 seconds of runtime on this engine, and it forms the basis of the second stage of our New Glenn rocket. Each launch of New Shepard gives our operations team a chance to practice. And the New Shepard experience scales and transfers directly to our New Glenn and Blue Moon programs. It's a great learning experience. You may have heard news from our founder announcing a national team to offer a human landing system for NASA's Artemis program. Pretty exciting news and a world-class team. Looking forward to seeing what they produce. Right now, we're hard at work at preparing for first human flight on our New Shepard rocket. I was hoping by the end of the year, but we still have, the end of the year is coming pretty quickly, and we still have a couple of test flights to go. Honestly, we've slowed down and tapped the brakes a little bit, and it's to verify the entire system. So we've functionally flown 11 successful rocket launches, but it's one thing to verify that all those systems we designed are going to work safely for humans on board. We're painstakingly combing over every design and verifying the build in a step-by-step fashion. And so far, we've found no surprises. The data looks very consistent from flight to flight. The Monte Carlo simulations are very consistent. And so I'm very hopeful that we're locked into a winning system here. In the end, though, we're only going to fly when it's safe to fly. Eric and LA, thanks for the chance to speak about New Shepard. And I would just offer that if you see our CEO, Bob Smith, tell him that Ray J is ready to fly. Thank you.
I'll tell him Ray J and Eric are both ready to fly. So, next I have the privilege to introduce Claire Pelly. Claire is the head of the astronaut office at Virgin Galactic, a role that I would like. I mean, a role that she has held for nearly 7 years. She's responsible for managing the community of over 600 future astronauts that have signed up to fly in space with Virgin Galactic. And hopefully after this presentation, it'll be 600 or maybe 700 after this. So who are actively engaged with the program and each other. She also oversees the end-to-end customer journey and works closely with the team to ensure that the team has this focus, the Virgin focus and flair for outstanding customer experience running right through the whole program. Claire joined Virgin Galactic from a management consultancy at Deloitte, where she specialized in customer journeys, including a stint with the 2012 London Olympics. And you kind of coordinated the torch rally. That was a success, and the torch got lit. So if you can do that, you can get people up into space. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say, Claire.
Thank you, Eric, for that introduction. And I don't have the space credentials, so I have to try and use something else. So I had to put in the Olympics instead. Great to be here, and thank you for coming to listen this afternoon. As Eric said, I'm Claire Pelly, and I'm head of the astronaut office at Virgin Galactic, a role I am really privileged to hold and excited to share a little bit more with you about as well. What I thought I would do, instead of giving you a big update on the flight profile and giving you an overview on Virgin Galactic's vehicle infrastructure, is instead take you through some of our recent milestones. I'm sure you've been seeing a lot of them in the news, and I'd like to tie that together for you before showing you a little bit more about who our future astronauts are, why they sign up, and some more information about them before you actually hear from some of the people themselves. And it's a testament to how much our future astronauts love Virgin Galactic and everything that we're doing, to see some surprised future astronaut faces in the audience. So hello and give us a wave. Great to have you here. So it has been a busy few months. Last December, we flew to space for the first time. Obviously a milestone that was huge for our team internally, but also a fantastic milestone globally as well. It was the first commercial space vehicle to launch from US soil since 2011. That triggered a number of new milestones. Soon afterwards, our pilots were awarded their astronaut wings by the FAA, and our rocket motor was awarded a Guinness record and is now sitting in the Smithsonian permanently as the world's largest hybrid rocket motor for commercial service. And then in February, we did it again with our very own Beth Moses, who you'll be hearing from shortly, in the back of that cabin. It was an amazing experience to have that flight, and I want to show you a short video which not only gives you a sense of what a flight with Virgin Galactic is like, but also a little glimpse into what our future astronauts have to look forward to.
release, release.
Fire. Fire. Hey, welcome to Space Scotland.
Congrats, Steve.
Welcome to the club, astronaut.
Thanks, Space.
I like this club.
In case it's not obvious, our chief pilot, Dave Mackay, is Scottish, if you're wondering why he was doing a little jig at the end there. And I think that video also gives a good sense of the team camaraderie that we have between us and the fantastic group of people that we have working on this project. Those two space flights proved a number of points in the flight test program, and they also essentially demonstrated our flight profile for commercial service. It was a good point, therefore, at this stage of operational readiness, to start to move our team and our vehicles down from Mojave, California. We design, build, and test our vehicles to Spaceport America, our purpose-built spaceport in New Mexico, where we will operate from and fly all of our future astronauts from. Over the summer months, a lot of that relocation happened, and we now have over 100 of our team and their families living in New Mexico and working out of Spaceport America on a day-to-day basis. Design is key to the Virgin experience, key to any Virgin customer experience, but also to the impact it has on people's working culture and how they've come together collaboratively. And so the design of Spaceport America's interior was well thought through to ensure that we had these collaborative spaces that brings together our future astronauts, their friends and family, and our team in the days leading up to them fly, up to their space flight and afterwards as well. This is one of our initial lounges on the first floor. And upstairs is a second floor where we have the mission control, which we call Cirrus, the nerve center, if you like, of Spaceport America. With all of that fitted out and ready to go, we had the operational readiness we needed to relocate VMS Eve, our mothership, from Mojave, California, down to Spaceport America to her new home where she is now permanently located, with a team working on her day in, day out. In fact, VMS Eve has just flown today with a team putting her up there, so it's great to see her in the air in New Mexico. Back in Mojave, things are not quiet. Enrico Palermo, our president of the spaceship company, is here today, but usually head deep in our spaceship fleet. We have got 3 spaceships in build and test at the moment, the second of which has recently passed some major milestones, including power on just last week. And this demonstrates that we're not just building a spaceship or a few spaceships, we are building a space line which we will operate. And that has underpinned some other major announcements we've made over the last few weeks, including a partnership with the Italian Air Force for a payload flight, a human-tended payload flight, and also an investment from Boeing to explore future technologies. And then just last week, just up the road here in New York, we revealed our spacesuits. I think I can speak for our future astronauts to say this has been an anticipated milestone and unveil for a long time. Expectations were high, and we partnered with Under Armour to make sure that we have created something that isn't just functional and ready to do the job in Spaceship 2, but also looks the part. Under Armour, many of you know, is a sportswear brand, but actually they are perfectly placed due to their cutting-edge technology to be able to create the functionality that we need within these spacesuits, combined with the design that we need to ensure that our future astronauts look their very coolest on that day when they walk out of Spaceport America into the waiting spaceship, and to don that spacesuit many times again and again after they've flown. We expect to see it at every family barbecue for the rest of time. So back to our vehicles. We have been using this time of relocation to get VSS Unity ready for commercial service. Most importantly, we're currently installing our commercial interior. Again, design is key to that customer experience, that we are making sure that we thread right through that Virgin end-to-end customer journey. So a lot of time and effort is going into ensuring that that interior is going to give a paramount customer experience. to maximize that time that people have within Spaceship Two and their time in space. Once that is complete, VMS Eve will be coming back from Spaceport America to pick up VSS Unity, if you like, from Mojave, and around the end of the year, bring her back to Spaceport America to resume the test flight program. Once the test flight program is complete and all looking well, we plan to fly Richard Branson, our founder, and what I call our most enthusiastic customer, on the first space flight, on the first commercial space flight, followed by all of our future astronauts. And all being well, we hope to achieve that from around the middle of next year. So that is a whistle-stop tour of what's been happening at Virgin Galactic. As I say, it's been a busy few months. And now I'd like to spend some time giving you some background on the future astronauts who you're going to hear from shortly. We have 600 people who've signed up to fly to space with Virgin Galactic, and I feel incredibly privileged, and I genuinely do think I have one of the best jobs in the world looking after this community. They are unique, they are diverse, they are brilliant characters, and they are all united by a shared vision to want to fly to space. Here are some of them at an event that we had a few years back. They have also been with us a long time. Richard's philosophy when he set up Virgin and ever since is to bring customers along the journey with him. He wanted to ensure that if he created Virgin Galactic, there would be a market for people to come with him. And it was a resounding yes, the amount of people putting their hands in the air and signing up to space with Virgin Galactic. So for up to 14 years, our future astronauts have been on our side and by our side, through many highs, through a few lows. And they are honestly the most incredible group and most exclusive community that I know of. And I'm often asked who they are. Who are these unique people who have put down a deposit to fly to space? So here are a few charts and stats for you. We have got all number of ages within the community, which I think demonstrates this eternal fascination with space, whatever generation you come from. We do have more men than women, but I'm pleased to say that we are beating the historic rates of how many women versus men have been to space to date. And perhaps most interestingly, we have 60 different nations represented from across 6 continents, many of whom will be the first from their countries to fly to space. Coming up first, perhaps there's no surprise, is the US, then the UK, Canada, Australia, and Russia. And you might be wondering, so why those countries are most highly represented? So I'll give you a little oversight of my kind of view of why people sign up to go to I was asked and who these people are, some of whom you'll hear a much more real-life story from soon. I think we have 4 main types, and nobody sits firmly on one. As I say, these are unique characters, and what they are not is an expectation sometimes. These are people with a lot of money who afford to fly. We have people who have made enormous sacrifices to buy their ticket, and to who this is everything to be able to make this journey. We have our space enthusiasts who saw the moon landing, but who've inspired a generation of our future astronauts who, as little boys and girls, watched it on a black and white TV, were super excited about having that opportunity to fly at some point in the future, and now they can fulfill that childhood dream. We have a lot of adventurers, people who have done everything. They have climbed Everest, they have dived the Titanic, and this is that ultimate last tick on their bucket list. We do have a lot of people that love the Virgin brand. They love our commitment to customer experience, to outstanding customer service. And if Rich is doing it, they want to do it too. And lastly, we have an increasing amount of entrepreneurs. Everyone in this room knows that space is the zeitgeist at the moment. Everyone wants a bit of the puzzle. And we have a lot of people that are joining us to be part of this fantastic new era of commercial space. But I would hazard that although we have a lot of people within our community from very diverse and different backgrounds, you cannot put a demographic on them. We like to say it's a psychographic rather than a demographic. They're united by a shared vision, and these future astronauts have made a huge decision to take a pioneering step forward and be an early mover and put a deposit down to fly to space with us. Not many people are willing to do that, and it is that shared vision to be an early pioneer that connects them with this shared vision and creates such an incredible community. I'd like to finish on this slide, and Ray J eloquently spoke to this before. The overview effect, which I think many of us are familiar with, and the blue marble picture, which I'm sure we're all familiar with. We know and we hope, just like Blue Origin, to give our future astronauts a little element of that overview effect, to have that cognitive shift, to come back with a renewed perspective and realize that this blue marble is fragile. We need to look after it. We need to do more recycling. And as a result, we look ahead and realize that our future astronauts from 60 different nations will be going back to their communities and sharing that renewed perspective. And the impact that that will have is truly in line with our brand purpose, which is together we open space to change the world for good. I'd also note that this demonstrates that we are all in this together as a commercial space industry. It is an exciting time to be part of it. There is so much happening within it. We commend what Blue Origin are doing, and we celebrate the fact that we are all working on this together. It's only going to get more exciting. Thank you.
I think I just have time for just a few questions because I know we really want to hear from the other side on why they're going and how they went. But I guess, Claire, for you, just one quick question. For some of the future astronauts, there's been a little bit of a wait for them. There's a kind of a long time in coming, you know, from the sign-up process. How do you keep them engaged? How do you keep them occupied? I mean, obviously good things come to those who wait, but throughout this process, how have you been engaging with them?
It's a good question. Future astronauts, have you been having fun in the lead-up? I think that's a resounding yes. We have a very active community because we know our future astronauts and because we understand them and we know where those shared excitements are and those shared interests. We make sure that we are constantly putting on events, trips, activities that help to bring together the future astronauts with each other, with the project, with Virgin, and within those shared interests as well. I talked about this interest in experiences. We have certainly noticed, and I expect a lot of you have as well, that there is a moving trend towards experiences over things, and experience economy, if you like, getting different things that you wouldn't be able to do elsewhere, has a real value on it. It has a real premium. And so what we try and do is deliver unique, privileged access style events that would not be accessible anywhere else. And in doing so, our future astronauts get the opportunity to have lunch with Stephen Hawking, go behind the scenes at CERN in Switzerland, come out to KSE for the 50th anniversary of the Apollo, and do a number of things that they wouldn't be able to do elsewhere while meeting each other, spending time together, and essentially having a journey before the journey itself. And that has been a brilliant way to be able to engage people and keep people on our side and by our side throughout.
That's great. Ray J, and I guess this could be for both of you, but I see the front-end experience of everything, the lead-up and the experience once you go up and you fly and you experience this you know, out-of-body experience, if you will. But what comes afterwards? What's the follow-up with the astronauts that you guys would have?
Well, I'll answer it real quick. That's a really good question, and we plan to engage our Blue astronauts after the flight and keep them in a club, let them get out and talk the word and talk what their experience was like. I agree with Claire. This is not about things on the Earth anymore. It's about experiences, and we want them to go share those experiences. So it's a great idea, and we will keep up with our Blue astronauts.
Claire, about to say?
I would add to that probably the thing we hear the most frequently from our future astronauts is, I'm having so much fun, I don't want it to be over. I almost don't mind that I haven't flown yet because I don't want all this great time I'm having in the community to come to an end. And so we have plans in place to develop our alumni network, to carry on the community afterwards, and that will be very much focused on the impact that people have had when they've been up in space, had that overview effect, and how we can support people to share that experience afterwards with their local communities, their local schools, so they can continue to use that transformative experience that they've had to do good within their own lives and with their communities too.
Okay, so the last question I have is for both of you. You both have a very ambitious plan to fly thousands of, dare I say, normal people into space, because obviously you two are abnormal. So normal people into space. And is the market big enough for both of you?
I'll go. I think it is, actually. And especially if we lower the cost of space, it will definitely be big enough. So that's our goal, is to try and get this infrastructure and the cost of space, the cost of building engines, cost of building rockets down below so the average person can come. And Blue also has a plan to fly people like poets and philosophers and artists also. So we intend to do that. I think our biggest vision is for you to go, whomever flies on our New Shepard rocket or on Virgin, frankly, comes back, gets a different experience, and brings that experience to their companies and changes their companies for the benefit of Earth. And that's at least my hope.
I agree, absolutely. We have the same ambitions to bring ticket prices down over time. The high net worth market, as things stand, though, is growing and growing. We already know that with increased capital markets, with increased entrepreneurs. There is a huge high net worth market growing sort of 6% each year, and we are currently only addressing sort of 0.1% of that market. And so we know that there is more than enough room for all of us, and particularly when the prices come down and we can open up to more people, we hope that everybody at some point will be able to have the chance to fly.
Fantastic. Poets, artists, government relations professionals, you know, the list goes on.
Is that it, professionals?
Yeah. I want to thank Claire at RayJ so much. This was a great panel. Thank you so much for your time and your insight on your two companies. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
It's Mike's mic.